Today, the Reserve Bank lifted the cash rate to 4.35%. Australians are already paying a hefty price for this war in the Middle East.
Families are already paying higher prices because of Donald Trump's war in the Middle East.
Laying the blame squarely at the feet of Donald Trump and his war in the Middle East.
But at least Pauline Hanson can go out there and say government spending is the problem and mass immigration. She's not afraid to say it because it's just an obvious fact. The mainstream media and Labor government politicians go out there and tell you it's not. We're not that stupid.
Because of mass migration, we've brought in too many people into the country. We can't cope with the numbers here. So that adds to getting housing and accommodation. Government spending out of control. We're hitting $1 trillion debt that we have now at the moment.
G'day everyone, welcome back to another video. Now the Reserve Banks have raised the interest rates to 4.35%. As you've probably all seen on the news, it is absolutely shocking and it's because of this Labor government. But we're going to be going through all that today, see what Jimmy said. I know he's lost his calculator again, so we're going to be seeing what the Treasurer is saying about it, and all the mainstream media pushing this propaganda, blaming overseas and not their own government spending. As usual, nothing is the Labor government's fault. And we're going to tell you that and use the mainstream media to push that. And that's why they want channels like mine taken down. And we're also going to look at Pauline Hanson speaking up and saying what the real housing crisis is and what it's caused by, not Labor government lies. So if you like content like this, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to the channel, or join to be a member if you want to show some extra support. It means a lot to me. And comment down below what you think about all this. But let's get into it. First, let's see what this hike has done to households. Now, this is the third consecutive hike in a row. So we got to add all three together. We can't just look at one. So let's just say you've got a new house, $1 million house, the new price of a house in Australia. Surprise, surprise. It's absolutely sick. But the first hike went up $150 a month. And then in March, $151 a month. Then in May, $152. So actually, if you look at it all at once, instead of looking at each hike individually, you're paying for a new house loan in Australia, $453 extra a month. You could rent another car for that. You could buy another car for that, and pay off it. That's how bad this is. And then $800,000, $363, and $600,272 extra. So as inflation is rising, everything is out of control, mass immigration, no one can afford anything, no one can get a house now because of this mass immigration, which they don't want to blame anything on. They can't even say it, the Labor government. Can't afford groceries, and then they want to slog on another $453 a month. It's absolutely madness. I don't know how anyone is voting for Labor. But let's see what they're saying. Let's see what Jimmy's saying. I know he's lost his calculator, but let's still see his opinion on why the price is going up.
Today, the Reserve Bank lifted the cash rate to 4.35%. Australians are already paying a hefty price for this war in the Middle East, and this...
There it is again. The war in the Middle East is why it's gone up, but it's been going up non-stop since your mass immigration. Not enough to go around, not using our own resources. You're relying on Iran to supply our oil, Islamic extremists. How can you rely on them? And the mass immigration inflates everything because you're pumping money into the economy, but everyone else is getting poorer. Inflation's going up. Like in February alone, you nearly had in 100,000 people, 3,400 people a day as the reports show. 3,400 people a day. And you wonder why. You walk around the shops and wonder, where am I? When you're letting in 3,400 people a day, of course inflation's going up. But not to mention the government spending. The government spending. Non-stop. Billions. It's just out of control. And all they want to do is blame overseas. That's what weak leaders do. They blame all their problems on something else instead of taking ownership, saying, our government spending's been out of control. We're going to completely stop sending money overseas to Afghanistan. They're not going to stop doing that. We're in a cost of living crisis for Australians, yet they still want to send money overseas. It's insane. Not to mention all the billions in NDIS fraud, all the billions in the building sector fraud with the unions that has been uncovered. Yet they don't want to admit anything. Even at Christmas, Jimmy said because everyone had a holiday, that's why inflation went up. Every expert said it was government spending. And then a war starts and they go, yes, let's blame that instead of our government spending. And then they'll still vote for us. Oh, well, it doesn't really matter because we'll just import votes anyway. But they really just have all the same script.
Families are already paying higher prices because of Donald Trump's war in the Middle East.
Not that you lost $15 billion in fraud in the building sector. Just in Allen in Melbourne alone. And that's only what we found. And then you just went, oh well. Nothing come out of it. You know how much we could have used that $15 billion for everyone in this state? You see what I mean? But it's all overseas' fault. Not your reckless government spending. It's your reckless government spending and immigration policies is why we're in this mess. And don't lie and say it's not. Like, all the mainstream media are spreading this Labor government propaganda as well.
Good evening. The Reserve Bank has delivered another hammer blow to many Australian families with the third interest rate hike in a row, laying the blame squarely at the feet of Donald Trump and his war in the Middle East.
See? There you go. It's the same script for all these politicians, all the mainstream media. That's why they don't want channels like mine. So please comment down below, like this video. We need to get the message out there that common sense Aussies know this is all bullshit. We're sick of the lies. It's your government spending not being self-reliant and self-sufficient. Like, surely you can say, oh, fuel went up for a few weeks, so that damaged us. Yeah, okay, but did we start drilling for oil? Did we start exporting oil? We could have made billions during the Strait being closed if we just used our own oil. No, we want net zero, so it's overseas' fault. It's just such a weak tactic. But you know, Pauline Hanson, one of the only politicians out there actually saying the real issues with the housing crisis.
Because of mass migration, we've brought in too many people into the country. We can't cope with the numbers here. So that adds to getting housing and accommodation. Government spending out of control. We're hitting $1 trillion debt that we have now at the moment. So when you...
There you go. She lays it all out. Mass immigration, too many people. We don't have enough homes. We're nearly $1 trillion in debt from reckless government spending. But the war just started. That's all their fault. That's why we're $1 trillion in debt. No, it's not.
You've got out of control government spending. That means inflation. Inflation means the cost of everything going up. We need to cut back government spending. I think that's very important. Cut back on mass migration. I'm not saying stop migration. This will actually alleviate the cost of living.
And just on government waste, that was one of the questions you wanted to ask, right, Tina?
I think that there are some concerns around mismanagement in areas like NDIS. I think that the money is there where it needs to be for vulnerable people, people with disability, but there just doesn't seem to be the governance around making sure that that's not mismanaged.
Can I totally agree with you? NDIS is out of control. $52 billion a year by 2032, expected to go up to $100 billion a year. People are claiming up to $195 an hour for services, whereas in the general sector they'll only pay about $80 to $100 an hour. It has been ripped off. And I blame the governments for this. There's not enough oversight. The government aren't investigating it. It's not about stopping it. It's about stopping the excessive spending, the scams that are going on. Got to stop.
And good on Pauline calling it out like it is, because it has to stop. Like, they're charging double, making fake invoices, fake hours, as we've all exposed on this channel with the NDIS fraud. But the building is just as bad with all the union fraud. It's out of control, but at least Pauline Hanson can go out there and say government spending is the problem and mass immigration. She's not afraid to say it because it's just an obvious fact. The mainstream media and Labor government politicians go out there and tell you it's not. We're not that stupid. Surely the general population isn't that stupid. Just to be told the same thing over and over again. It's everyone else's fault, not the Labor government's fault. Now we're $1 trillion in debt. But Jimmy out here telling you why you can't afford a house and why there isn't any houses.
A lot of Australians, and particularly younger Australians, are finding it really difficult to get into the housing market. That's not the fault of older Australians, it's the fault of successive coalition governments who didn't take housing seriously enough.
How can you say that with a straight face? It's the other government's fault that we have no housing. What's happening to cause us have no housing? What is happening? Maybe letting 3,400 people in a day in Australia. Mass immigration. What other older government would say, oh, we got to build hundreds of thousands of homes because when the Labor government get in, they're going to mass import the rest of the world. So we need to build 1 million empty homes ready for when the Labor government get in charge to flood the country. What other government would prepare for that? It wouldn't, because that would be crazy. But that's the Labor government, and that's what they're doing. So don't buy into their lies. Don't give into that manipulation, the mainstream manipulation, trying to say everything is Donald Trump's fault, everything's a war overseas fault. Don't worry about that. Focus on our own country. We have the resources here. Start using them. Stop mass immigration to hide your failing market. Stop your reckless government spending. You're not spending it on things that matter. You're sending it overseas to fraud, to benefits that don't benefit normal Australians. You know, if we're $1 trillion in debt and there's potholes everywhere on the road, you know the government isn't doing something right. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join to be a member if you want to show some extra support, or buy me a coffee in the description down below. It means a lot to me. But we're going to keep speaking up, keep getting it out there, because this government lies and manipulation, trying to act like nothing is their fault, has to stop. They need to be held accountable.